Yes, I can hear you.
Okay. So let's start right away because we have a whole lot. Okay, I believe you went through this code. Like, is there anything we did in the last class that you don't understand, or you would appreciate more explanation at this point?
Okay. Yeah. There are some parts like Let me see. Let me check where I got this somewhere. Let me quickly check it.
Okay, please do.
No, not from me yet. I've not been able to go through the remainder of the video. I was not, but I
Okay.
would still follow up on it. Yes.
It's all right. Oh, I've just observed something. It's like I wasn't working on the master branch. Like, if you look at the bottom left corner of my screen, that shows the branch I'm currently working on. That's a mistake. It should have been the master. So if I run git branch, you see the list of branches. You see the list of branches that we currently have, and the one highlighted is the branch I am on. So I'll switch to master, then I'll merge the changes I made in this branch to master. So you do that with git checkout. Check out master, and we then merge the changes. Git merge fix. Already up to date. How? Okay. Give me a minute. Okay, still up to date. It's
Yes.
still up to date. All right. Now let me delete the fix one. Okay, so were you guys able to write the test? I asked you to write unit test for the update tweet and delete tweet. Were you able to do that?
Okay. I tried, but there's some kind of aspect because it's still kind of confusing me. So I just because we just did it for post and for post and get. So I can understand it more, but I'm trying to like think of how to do it for the update, but I couldn't like figure it out based on the syntax. I know there's some part of it that I couldn't like really remember. I tried to browse it online, but the ones I was seeing online, they were using other databases and other ORMs, so their code was a little bit different from what we
Okay.
expected.
Okay, I understand. So maybe let us do that very quick before we move to today's topic. I think today we'll be working on comments. We'll look at how to create comments and like basically what with comments. And if there's still time, we'll look at likes as well, likes and unlikes as well. So let's quickly build the unit test for update and delete. Okay, so to do that, I believe you can hear me, right? Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Yes, sir.
Okay. All right. So to do that, we're going to create a class called this test update. Then we then create a function, a test function, like this. And this function will be responsible for the updates. Now, we actually want to update the tweet, but we don't have the tweet we want to update, right? I could have maybe send a request to create a tweet. Then when I get the response, I'll then extract the ID. I can then extract the ID, then use that ID and send a request to the update endpoint to actually update the tweet. But there's also another way. All right, there's also another way you could handle that. You could create a fixture. All right, we could create a fixture for a tweet. That creates a fixture for a tweet. That's a fixture that creates a tweet in the DB. Then get the ID from that fixture, then update that particular tweet. So I'll use both methods. All right, I'll use the method of actually sending a request to create a tweet for update. Then when we are working on delete, I'll use the other method that we will create a fixture so that you'll be familiar with it. I hope you get me, right?
Yes, yes. Though that fixture, I don't know what it is like, or you explain it to us.
Okay, we spoke about fixture in a couple of classes ago. If you look at our conf test.py, you see some code like this at line 108. We have py test.fixture, and we have this function, authorized client. This is a fixture. We are basically building a function that we can use in our tests, in our test functions. All right. Take for example this authorized clients. Since we need to send requests in a whole lot of test classes, in a whole lot of test functions, we don't want to like have to create this code. Can you see this code? This is the code we would have been creating for each test, so that we will have the client. All right. So instead, I just want to create a single function and like input all the code we need to create a client. They turn it to a fixture, and then use that in our test functions. All right. From there, we can, instead of repeating ourselves every time, we can just make use of the function from our test function. Right. Instead of something like this, maybe instead of something like this, and then maybe then making use of the clients to send requests. Yeah, instead of something like this, with clients. Yeah, instead of something like this, we can just abstract everything into this function. Then just passing this function as an argument to our test function, and just use it like this. All right, it reduces the number of code we have to write, and it makes our test code leaner and cleaner. We just use something like this instead of like copying all of this for every test function we are. So that's really the use of fixtures. All right, that's really the use of fixtures. Use it to abstract something away from a test. So we are going to test update now, tweet update. So we are going to create a tweet. All right. Then I want to assert that this creation is successful. It's equal to 200. Then when it is successful, I will get the ID of this tweet. Don't forget that to update a tweet, we need the ID, we need the tweet ID. That's why I need to get the tweet, the ID of the tweet we just created here. So I will say that ID, tweet ID is equal to get the response that I told you that you simply call res.json, not just res.json, the return value of the request you sent. If you called this maybe res2, this would have been res2, all right? So that's just it. We use this to get the response object. Now to get the ID of that response object, this tweet public inherits from shared model. And let me go to our shared model. And our shared model that we're inheriting from has an ID. All right. That means every response object has an ID. So to get that ID, we simply call rest.json.get then ID. This will give us the ID of that tweet that is returned. And the next thing we are going to do is to actually update the tweet. And we update the tweet with, we send a request to tweet update, then pass in the tweet ID. So I'll simply copy it. I'll just copy and paste it. Then instead of sending the tweet breaks, send to tweet update. Now, the data it's going to send will be, I want it to send this content is equal to my updated tweet, right? Now, you may be wondering how we are going to pass in this tweet ID. Do that, you simply pass in a command here, then define the tweet ID. Tweet ID is equal to this ID we extracted here. Tweet ID will be equal to tweet ID. Now I want to assert that is equal to extract that tweet from the database, then compare that we have indeed updated the content. So I'll extract the tweet. Tweet is equal to await tweet get, and ID is equal to tweet ID. Now we want to assert that tweet.content, that's the content of the tweet, is not equal to this data.get content. All right, we want to assert that this tweet content is not the same thing as this again. It's not the same thing as our initial content. Then we also want to assert that this tweet content is exactly the same thing as our updated content. The content we passed in. So maybe to avoid confusion, let me remove it and let me use this instead. So I hope you understand what I'm doing here. Is there any question on this?
Okay, so I think I understand what you're doing. We check, we return the original tweet that is linked to a particular user ID, then we check, we change the tweet to a new tweet, then we check to see if the tweet is, we check and confirm that this tweet is not the same as the former tweet.
Yes, yes. So we are basically creating a tweet at line 60. We create a tweet, then at line 64, we get the ID of that response object. Don't forget that when we create a tweet, it returns to us the details of that tweet. And within the details of that tweet, we have the ID of the tweet. All right, so we get that ID at line 64. Then at line 65, we send another request to the update tweet endpoint to update the tweet, and we pass in an updated content. And our content is my updated tweet. Now we assert that at line 72, we assert that that request is successful. At line 73, we get that tweet, that updated tweet from the database. Then we confirm at line 75 that the content is not the same as the first content. And at line 76, we confirm that the content is the updated content. We just want to check that the endpoint that is used for updating tweets is good, that we don't have errors. So let us run this test and see what happens.
And I guess line 60 and line 66 is meant to make sure that only someone authorized can do that, right? Only the user that is authorized can.
Yes. Yes, only a user that is authorized that has stopped interact with you. Yeah, our tests are running now. Wow, we have an error at update tweet. Why do we have this error? We have assets that we were asserting that this. Why do we have the error?
The post request failed, so the post request has
check why. Yeah, it's true. It's true. I'm trying to check why we have error. Check tweet permissions. Okay, where is your 401 return? Let's debug. Let's go to dependencies and let's check this.
Are we supposed to be using tweet create to do the post request? I don't know. Okay, we are creating it first.
Oh, you know what? The updates it's a put request, not a post request. It should be a put request, not a post request, all right? So let us change this to a put request. What happened? Let's change it to a put request and see if we still have errors. Then we will need to look at the dependency we created earlier. Okay, it's the same thing. So let us look at the let's look at the dependency and see what happens. If tweet.user ID is not equal to, okay, so I'm going to print tweet.user ID. Then I'm also going to print current user.id so that we can better understand why we are having that exception. First update. Nothing is printed. Okay. Okay, the error we are having is at create suite, not even update suite. So this is what I need to do. Set rest of JSON is equal to me. So what I want to do now is I want to check the response data that is returned, so that I can better understand where that error is coming from. This user does this user does not exist. How is that possible? Let us search for where this particular error is coming from.
I think it's from authorized clients. I don't know if
Yeah.
I don't know if there's a way we're supposed to fetch the auth details of the current user. It's not by logging in or something.
That's what I'm thinking. You know what? Let's do this one. Let me copy this. Let me copy this test user down here. And let's run the test. It's strange because this first test is working. This first test is working. If this first test is working, why is this second one not working? That's the question. Let's do this. This ID is equal. Yeah, this addition there. It should be okay, let's run it again and see what. Well, truth be this strange, this strange. So let's use the second method and see what happens. We're going to create a fixture instead. Let's explore the option of creating a fixture and let us check if that method will work. So we are going to create a tweet. We're going to create a tweet from here. And we'll use that fixture in our test class and see what happens. Let's call this test tweet. And each tweet needs an owner. So we're going to take in test user as the owner. Then we'll await tweet.create and we'll return await tweet.create. Then let us see what we need to create a tweet. We need the user. So user is equal to test user. Then we also need the content. Let us use the test content. So with this, we have our fixture. So that's that. We are going to make use of this test tweet instead. And with that, we'll eliminate this. There's no need for this again. For this test tweet. So test tweet dot ID. What's the error? What's the error? Asset 401 is still returning 401. Asset 401 is equal to 200. Why is it the 401?
401 unauthorized. So I think it still has with that authorization thing.
Yeah. The issue is here. The error is coming from here, but I am struggling to understand why this error is coming from here, because this first test runs successfully. This first test, the authorized client runs successfully. Then why is it failing for this second test? Let us look at it. It's far. User ID is equal to test user ID. Right. Still a 401. You know what? I guess we are going to skip this for now. Then at the end of the class, I'll look at it again, and in the next class we'll work on the fix together.
No problem, sir.
Yeah. We'll work on the fix in the next class. All right. There's no need to waste a whole lot of time fixing this. So we are going to go to we're going to look at today's class, and today we are going to look at comments. Right. We're going to look at comments, creation of comments. Then we'll look at how to update comments for each tweet, and we're also going to look at how to delete comments for each tweet. So that'll be there. First, we need to look at the comments model. Yeah, we're going to look at the comments model, and as you can see on this model, we have that the comment should have a tweet, and there's the tweet that has a comment, right? Then it should also have a field for user. That is the user that actually created these comments. Then it should then have a field for the contents, like the main text of the comment. So before we get to that, we need to create a data schema for that endpoint. Right? We need to create a data schema for that endpoint. And I will call this I'll call this comment crate. I'll call this comment crate. So we'll create a class, call this comments crate, and it's going to inherit from base model. Then each comment should take in a comment. Okay, should take in a content field, and our field is going to be composer, and it should have a maximum length of 600. We'll keep it at 550. All right, so that's for comment crate. Then we also need another data schema for comments public. Class comments public. And this one is going to inherit from shared model. All I want to return is the content. All I want to return is the content, which will be a string. All right, I believe you can still hear me.
Yes, I can hear you.
Yes.
Can you still hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Yeah.
So with that out of the way, we are going to go ahead and create the endpoint. And I want this endpoint to accept a push request to the part. I'll call this part comment crate. Comments crate, right? Then I want the name to be name is equal to, I want it to be comment, create. After that, we need the status code to be created, actually, not 200. So I'll copy this first here. I want it to be 201 created. Then I need a description of create a comment. Finally, there's no need for dependency. Right? There's no dependency. Now the next thing you are going to do is to create the function that will be executed. We'll call this create comments. For this create comment, and as usual, it's going to need the current user, all right, so that we will know the user that actually created this comment. Going to need that. Then we are going to need the data too, the data that is submitted to the data. So I'll call this data of type comment create. Data of type comment create. Of course, we need to import that. So we'll come over here and add comments create to this import. So the next thing we are going to do is to just create a comment. Right. Oh, we forgot something. Sorry, we forgot something. We should have the response model. Right? Response model. Our response model should be comment public. Comment public. Comments. For now, let's pass here. All right, our code is so, the length here is so long. So let me format this code with down.
Okay, while it's formatting, I have some questions.
Okay.
Okay. At the end of the code there, where you can you scroll down? Let me see. Okay. This async dev, this create comment. Won't it also need like the tweet ID, since you are commenting on a particular tweet that was made? So like the comment is related to the tweet. I don't know if I'm getting it wrong.
Yes. What you're saying is right. Like what you're saying is right. Actually, we are not creating a comment like that to a video. We're attaching a comment to a tweet. All right. So Uche is right. We need a tweet ID. Tweet ID. There has to be a tweet ID. All right. Then we need to get that tweet ID here, and it will be of type string, which is equal to path, and we want it to be composed. Yeah.
Okay.
Thanks for pointing that out. So the first thing we need to do is to extract the tweet. We're going to await tweet dot get unknown. Get unknown. Then we want the ID equal to tweet ID. Then we need to check if this tweet is known. If tweet is known, I want to raise an exception. import HTTP exception. So let us import that. So if that is none, I want to raise HTTP exception with a status code. A status code of status dot 404. 404 is mostly used when the resource is not found. Then to have a detail of this tweet ID is invalid. Then if the code should escape that block, that means we successfully extracted our tweet. Now the next thing we are going to do is to create the comment. Comment is equal to await comment. So we didn't import that, we need to import that. And, comment. So comment dot create. Comment dot create. Now, if you look at the comment model, you see that each comment takes in a tweet. So our tweet will be equal to the tweet we extracted at line 76. Okay, 75, I mean. Then it will need a user, and the user will be our current user. Then it needs a content, which will be our data, the content. Now, all we need to do is to return the comment. That's what we need to do. We simply return the comment. So that's that. Do you have any question? Do you have any question on this?
Okay. I noticed. 'Cause I'm trying to remember whether we created we allowed it to like register the date that it was created and updated. So I don't know if we did.
Yes, we did that. Don't forget that our comment model inherits from base model, and in our base model, we have ID created as and updated as. Then
Okay, so is it possible to also return in that returning, because we set it to just return content? Does it also return the date modified and date will I say updated? Because I know like in a real world, like if you go on any social media now, when you read a tweet, you also see when the person posted it or something. Is it possible to?
yeah. Yes, when you look at our comments public, right, the comments public, the data schema we are returning, right, it inherits from shared model, and this is the shared model. Shared model has the ID, has the created item, has the updated item. So that automatically means that this comments model has an ID field, it has a created item field, it has an updated item field, and then also has this content field.
Okay.
Yeah. So that is it. Okay, please, do you have any other question?
No from me, no.
Okay, Dell and MJ, I've not heard from you. Any question?
No, I don't have a question from you, sir.
All right, that's fine. The next thing we're going to do is I think we shouldn't allow a user update the content, but we should allow a user delete the comments. All right. The user should be able to delete the comments. So let us do that. Let's create a new endpoint for comment delete. All right, so we are creating a comment delete endpoint, and I want to call this delete comments. Delete comments, and it's going to take a comment ID. Then I want this to return status.http. It should be a 200 response. Then I'll change the description to delete comments. All right, so we are going to create a function that we want to execute when we request one to the endpoint. And for this function, delete comment. Then, as usual, this function will take the comment ID and current user. Comment ID and current user. So the first thing we're going to do is to create a is to extract this comment. We need to extract this comment. So I'll say comment is equal to await comment dot get or none, get an ID that is equal to comment ID. Now, if this comment is none, if comment is none, I want to raise an exception. Yeah, I want to raise an exception with the status code of status.http 404. Then we need a detail of this comment doesn't exist. Does not exist. Now, all we need to do now is to simply await comments. So going through the code at line 99, we simply get a comment. Then if that comment does not exist, we return none. All right. If you highlight on this get or none, you see that it fetches a simple record for a model type using the provided filter parameters or none. So using these filter parameters you passed in, if this record doesn't exist, it should return a none. So at 900, we check if it is a none. And if it is a none, we return an exception that this comment doesn't exist. And if it is not a none, we simply delete the comment. But there's an issue here, all right? There's an issue here. The issue here is that the way it is now, any user can delete any comment, which is not what we want. There's no check. We don't have any check to confirm that the user sending this request is actually the user that created this comment, all right? At the moment, there's nothing like that. So we should actually do that. We should do that. So to do that, we are going to check if comments dot user ID is not equal to current user.id, we want to raise an exception. We want to raise an exception with the status code of status.http. I want to send a 401 unauthorized with the detail of you are not authorized to delete this comment. You are not authorized to delete this comment. All right, I believe you are good to go.
Okay.
All right, please, do you have any question on this?
Okay. There's because I'm trying to. This is more like, okay, it's a question, Sean. I'm trying to like see how this relates to like maybe a real life website scenario. So this where we did like if comment is none, so which means if the comment is not exist, you should return a message that says comment does not exist. So I'm trying to reason like, let's say like I'm trying to see if it's the same correlation. Let's say you are browsing a website, let's say like Facebook. Let's say you have facebook.com opened on, like your Facebook page is open on 2 tabs in your browser. So, and you know, based on the way like modern website work, where it's like maybe the front end, the website is rendered in your browser, and then if you go offline, let's say if I open my Facebook page and now go offline, I'm still seeing all the content that's already been loaded on the browser. So let's say, for example, I have that Facebook page open in 2 different tabs. The same, maybe I'm reading someone's maybe Facebook wall, and it's open in 2 different tabs. And then on one of the wall, let's say I made a comment and I deleted the comment in one of the tabs that I opened. On the other tab, the comment will still be showing there on the other tab until I refresh the tab.
Yeah, you're right.
So if I try to delete the same comment on the other tab, I guess that's where this kind of scenario will happen, where, okay, this comment does not exist, even though it's showing on the browser, but it's just because I've not reloaded the browser, something like that.
Yes, that's a perfect scenario where this could be possible, where well and 100 could be executed. You know, it will simply return the error that, hey, this comment you are trying to delete does not exist. For this one check, if like you try to delete the comments that another user created, the second exception will true that, hey, you are trying to delete the comments that you don't have, that you are not the owner, right? So that's the
I have a question, sir.
okay. Please go ahead.
So what happened was last night, I wasn't really available because I was kind of down with my level. So here in the 9105, this comment does user ID if it's not equals to current user ID. So I want to can I like see maybe the schema or the model. I want to know if it was linked with a foreign key, if fast API uses store with foreign key, or how is the comment and current user linked together.
Okay, you're referring to line 115, right? Okay, line 105,
yeah, 105.
Right?
Okay. Yes, sir.
So let's go to the model. So this is a comment model. All right. Now, if we look at the database, with respect to the database, like I said, in the database, we don't have anything like comment. Okay, we don't have anything like this user as you're seeing here. What we have is something like this. User ID. Let me show you. Let us local container. Yes. Express. Okay. Now let us go into that. Docker exec minus IT. I want to go into this. SQL. Now, if we look at server, what's the name of our field? It's comment. Server comments. Yeah, you can see what we have here. These are the these are the fields that we have on DB. All right, these are the fields we have on DB.
Okay, sir.
Yeah, we have this tweet ID, which is this, and user ID, which is this. What this does is that it's a foreign key field that links to a different model. So that is why I'm comparing. That's why I'm checking comments.user ID. So if this this user ID is not the same as the ID of the user that actually created this comment, all right, that is when we throw this exception. You know,
Okay.
each user, take for example, several user, yeah, no, each user has an ID field, this field, all right?
Okay.
So a user that created these comments, this user's ID is what we are going to have here, all right? So we want to take a comment, take this ID, then take the user that sent the request and we pick the ID of that user, then we compare the two. If they are not the same, all right, if they are not the same, that is what this exclamation mark and report means. They are not the same, we raise this exception. Hey, you are not the owner of this comment, so you don't have the right to delete the comment.
I understand now, sir. Thank you so much, sir.
Okay. Please, do you have any other question?
No question for me from now.
Okay. All right. I think what we should do now is to, please give me a minute. Let me check our curriculum. Sorry. Stephanie, stop sharing. Okay, I believe this week 10, right?
Week is it 10? No. Okay, week 10. I can't remember the week, but I think we're in class, should be 18 or so. Let me see.
Okay, so what I want to do now is to, what we've done so far, since we've not written unit tests for this yet, apart from create suites and read suites, let us use the rest of the time we have in this class to test this manually. And on Tuesday, our next class is on Tuesday. We are going to fix the error we had earlier, and we'll work on the unit test. We'll work on the unit test. So for now, let us test this manually. So I'm going to start this server. Network. Then we'll check in case we have errors. So the first thing I'm going to do is to create a user for this. Okay, let me move this to a different server, a different one line, so that we'll have enough space here. I'll open this with the Linux command line on top. So, okay, let's create an account with this. I'll delete this. Okay, so we are going to create a user. Then when we are done creating the user, yeah, we've created the user. We are going to I think to log in, we need to activate the user. Register. Okay, we can log in like that. There's no need to verify. Okay. Next thing we are going to do is to log in. So let's do that. I'll create a new request and I'll call it login.
Sorry, sir. While you continue the testing manually,
Okay.
the last two classes, I'm finding it difficult to find it on YouTube. The class from Saturday, and I don't know if they were not uploaded.
Let me check. Okay, let me share my browser screen. Yeah, there we go. When was this? Okay, maybe it hasn't been uploaded yet. I'll talk to the program manager about it.
All right, sir. That'll be class 18 and 19, I think.
Okay. Okay, so now let us all right. We log in with I think the email and password. So read the email. And, we need the password. So. All right. We will send this to another log. Okay, it's a push request. Not a guest request. Your username or email. Username or email. All right, so we now have a token. Now let me create a new endpoint for content. We'll use this other request for content. Now we are going to copy this to authorize our request. We simply go to the headers. All right, then you include another header called authorization. Then you include a value of DRR, a space, and paste your JSON code there. That's how you authorize a request. The first thing we want to do is we want to create a tweet. We want to test tweet creation. So to create a tweet, you simply send, I think just the contents to this endpoint, create tweet. So we send a JSON containing just the content. My first tweet to this endpoint. Let's see what happens. Now, can you see the response? We now have a tweet with an ID of this, and equated at, updated at, and the content. Now let us update that tweet. update the tweet. We'll update that tweet and as we're testing this update endpoint, update tweet also takes a tweet ID. So we're passing in the tweet ID there. Then we need to change this to a post request. And I want this to be my updated tweet. Let's see. Good. So we now have a result. The tweet has been updated. The next thing we need to test is delete tweet. We'll simply send a delete request to that endpoint. The endpoint of delete tweet. Good. The tweet has been deleted. What else do we need to test? Now let's create a comment. Then we'll also delete the comment. So we'll create a comment.
So that means we need to create tweet again.
Yes. To create a comment, you need to create a tweet. So that and create tweet text a post request. I'll call this my new tweet. Yeah, we now have a tweet. Now we are going to create a comment. I would love to use a new request for that. We call the endpoint create comment. So that will create comment. Then we need to pass in the tweet ID. Now the comment needs a body of content. I'll call this first comment. Now we should authorize it. Right? We should authorize it. Authorization. All right. This we can send a request. Oh, for not found. We should do a post request. Oh, for not found. Let me investigate. Okay, it's comment create, not create comment. Yeah. So with this we've created our comments. We have this comment, the ID, we created that and created that. Now the next endpoint we have is to delete the comment. So we are going to change this to delete comment. Delete comment, and we pass in the ID of the comment. Then it should be a delete request. Yeah. So the request is successful. That means what we are doing is correct. All right. But you actually don't want to do this in production, like for a real app. That's why unit tests are very, very important. So in the next class, when I'm done with this class, I'll go through that again the test again, and I'll check where the error is. Then in the next class, we'll fix it together and then write tests for this. So please, do you have any question on what we've done today?
For me, no question.
Can we
Everything
put,
is
I want to ask that the last class and this class, how should we move to YouTube? I want it to be uploaded on YouTube, sir.
Yeah, it's like it's not been updated. I'll talk to the program manager about it. Hopefully he will put it.
Okay, because I missed the last class. I'd love to visit it again.
Okay, it's all right. It will be uploaded. Sorry about that.
Sir, thank you, sir.
Okay. It's all right. So this will be all for today. I will push this up now. All right, so it's now live on default, so that you can pull and go through. So that'll be it. Thanks a lot for attending. We'll continue on Tuesday. Please don't forget our classes now on Tuesdays by 5 p.m. and Thursdays by 1 p.m. We no longer have classes on Friday because my schedule nowadays, I no longer have time on Fridays. So it will now be Tuesdays and Thursdays.
No problem, sir. Tuesday is okay.
Okay, it's all right. It's all right. So,
All right, sir.
all right,
Thank
so
you very much.
that'll be all for today. Thanks for attending.